Hey,
There we are.
here, we're back.
Either hi there, ho there.
Hello there. Yes, sir. Hey, good
Happy
evening.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's everybody's belly full of turkey? I am.
All gobbled up.
I'll bloat it up. Awesome. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our Sunday night offering of astronomy outreach, astronomy edutainment, actually, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show.
Hey.
My name is Chris Corwin. I'm the creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm an amateur astronomer and a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. Very pleased this evening to introduce my two co-hosts this evening, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moonshadow Observatory, back at the Moonshadow Observatory in beautiful Hampton.
Hello,
Hey.
hello, back on land.
And my other co-host this evening, Mr. Mike Powell from the PFO Observatory here in St. John. Mike, evening.
Hey, we're renaming it the Island Observatory again.
Observatory. Yeah, lots of rain for sure. We'd like to welcome all of you to tonight. All of you are joining us from the Rogers TV network as well, and all of you out there in Facebook and YouTube land. Thank you very much for your support on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show. All of us look up and can enjoy the night skies with no equipment or the experience necessary. Each of us who choose to follow the night sky is on a different journey. As we mentioned before, we do want to present a new perspective of that journey each week. And this week, we're inviting back one of our previous guests, our local astronomy guru and mentor, member of the St. John Astronomy Club and the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, New Brunswick chapter, Mr. Curt Nason. Curt, good evening.
Hello.
Yeah.
Back, sir. Okay, and also we're going to have our new segments again, Ask an Amateur, our choice for product of the week this week, the celestial event of the week. Maybe you can guess what that one's going to be. And we'll still have another interesting Bino Bud this evening as well. Paul's going to present a previously run Rosanna's Fun Facts segment, and all of this plus your wonderful photo submissions to share. So welcome, everybody. And first up this evening, we're going to have a conversation with our friend and fellow astronomer, Curt Nason. And Curt's going to discuss a little bit about a constellation, favorite fall constellation this evening.
Okay. I always look to have one constellation that designates a season. And for autumn, it's Pegasus. Here we have a stellarium up here. So Pegasus is a great one for jumping off to seeing other constellations. And usually you have some that you use to point, but it's such a big square up there. It's called the Great Square of Pegasus. And you can see it here. It rises up, it started rising up late summer in the early evening. So once we get to where we are now into autumn, it's up fairly high in the eastern sky. And you can just look for this big square, and it's so big that sometimes it's hard to pick it out. Every now and then I'll have to take a look around for it. But what I really like about this is when it comes up on its side, like a lot of the constellations will do. So it's not the Great Square of Pegasus. This time of year in the early evening, it's a diamond. And this time of year, we just started last week, this designates Major League Baseball playoff season. So it's the autumn constellation for the season, but it also designates the Major League Baseball playoffs. So here we see the ball diamond here, and the brightest star in Pegasus is not the brightest star in the square, because the star over here is Alpheus. Now, a century ago, this star was shared between Pegasus and Andromeda. So you see it makes the head of the princess. And, well, I guess they say it makes the navel, but I always look at it as the horse's butt. And so when they divvied up the sky into the constellations officially, nearly a century ago, then you couldn't have it one star sharing different ones, sharing more than one constellation. So Alpheus, I guess they figured it's more regal to have it as the head of a princess rather than the horse's butt. So Alpheus now is Alpha Andromeda. And therefore, the brightest star in Pegasus would be its alpha star. Over here is Markab. Now, if you look at the baseball diamond, Markab's on first base, Sheet's on second, and Alpheus is is Sheet. And Alpheus over here at third base, they just brought somebody in from another team to play there. And down here is El Chetam. Now, in my mind, the greatest comedy skit of all time is Abbott and Costello. And I played it this afternoon. I laugh every time I hear it. Who's on first?
Yeah.
So here we have who on first base, what's on second. I don't know is on third. Anybody know the catcher's name?
No.
No.
Yeah, it's today. Today's the catcher, tomorrow's the pitcher, and I don't give a darn. They're in short. And left field is why, center field is because, and I don't think they ever had a right fielder's name. So that's the way I look at it this time of year in spring. So you can look here. You see the horses flying upside down, and I'll talk a little bit about the constellation, and when we do something else, when I come back to this one again, I'll talk about the mythology of it. There's a couple of stories there with that. So we look up in here, it's that big square. There's some fainter stars in here, and these ones are all second, third magnitude stars, most of them. But they do stand out, which you can pick out that. And he's flying upside down. And again, there's only about half a horse here. Just like Taurus the bull, there's only half a bull in this guy. But with a little bit of imagination, you can add in Andromeda here for the back legs of the horse, and there's the front legs. I always look at that as maybe a hobby horse. You got the little runners on here. You see them like that. So it's a little hobby horse upside down. It's got the long neck out here and the star here. And then we got to come up here to Enif, which is on the nose of him. And if you imagine a horse being out there snorting a lot, you can find some horse snort up in this way. If you take this star here in the ear and come up to Enif and go just about a third of the distance up, and pretty much a straight line, you see a star in here. Then you see that little bit of phlegm there that the horse had snorted out. And that's globular cluster M15. And it's a really nice one to see. So that's how you find it. Just get the horse to snort, go to that star, to this star, and about a third of the distance beyond that, and you're in there. Now there's another one there, maybe shot out his ears. This M2 here is actually in Aquarius. But the fun that I always go to Pegasus, go to the star here in the neck and follow along to the eye star here and carry it out. It's pretty much a straight line, same distance, and that puts you easily within a binocular view of M2. And so two fairly easy globular clusters that you can pick up with a pair of binoculars. I don't think Bynum Bud might have had one of them a year or so ago, and probably well later on this year. Right?
Time will tell.
All right, so there's not a lot of other things. If you got really big telescopes, there are some groups of galaxies in around here. I've never had a big enough telescope to get them all, so I haven't tried that yet. And of course, you want that, then you go to Alpheratz, then you're into Andromeda, where there's a lot of great things to look at in here. All right, so they're not really, really bright stars, but they really do stand out. So Algeta, Marka, Shiget, just to say it again, and Alpheratz there. That's be the Great Square of Pegasus. Now, the Great Square of Pegasus is something that can be used for something else. And hopefully, I can bring it up here. There's a citizen science website, Globe at Night, and they have, I think, 6 constellations, so they change them every 2 months. And the idea is you go out and you look at that constellation. So we've got Pegasus up there now. You go out and see the Great Square, find that, then count how many stars you can see within that square. And depending on how light polluted your sky is, or like you want to go out there when it's, say, after astronomical twilight, when it's up higher in the sky, and count the stars there. And if you've got a really dark sky, then you can see quite a few of them. If you're in a city, you might not see any in there. You might have a hard time seeing the 4 of the square. So count how many you've got, then go to that website, and you have a form you can fill out there, and just put in where you are, the time you did it, and then how many stars you saw. But they have a series of photographs, depending on, for say, a first magnitude star, second magnitude, third magnitude, up to 6th magnitude. And it shows you how many stars you would see in there within that square if you had a dark enough sky to match those. So you count up how many you see, then go out on the website and look at that. and I can tell you what your magnitude is.
Oh, that's cool.
So rather than dig that up, I'll just tell you where to get it. So that goes to the Globe at Night website, and you bring it up there. Pretty much, you'll have that constellation of the 2-month period right there for you, and they compile all that information for all the different areas around the world. You get quite a few entries in that, and you can tell if your sky has been changing. If you're doing this regularly, you can tell your sky is getting brighter over the years.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So that's pretty much the main part I had to astronomy wise anyway for Pegasus.
I'm not gonna get by that horse's flame. That's gonna be one I'm gonna remember now. The horse,
Yeah, exactly.
the horse flame cluster, okay. 15. Well, you gotta name what you gotta name what you're gonna remember, right? Doesn't really matter what the name is, like the guy says. Awesome, thanks, Curt. We're gonna come back to some legends too, of course. Where they come from. You're the best one with the legend part.
Wow.
Should we go there now to either Bino Bud or Ask an Amateur? Maybe Bino Bud next.
Oh no, bud. Let me see if I can get the right screen here. And we should have a Bino Bud popping up.
There is. Oh,
Oh, you didn't share your audio, Mike.
stop sharing.
Okay,
Oh,
just a second.
never mind.
It wouldn't be the same. Moving on, as they say. All right, binocular target of the week, all in good fun this week. Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Paul always gets the dumb parts.
Yeah.
I was gonna swap them, but it did. Anyway, my wife laughed so hard. Moving on. I see force 4756 is a large bright open cluster in the constellation Serpines, and it's also known as Tweedledee or the Tweedledee cluster, paired with NGC 6633 as Tweedledum, also as the Secret Garden cluster. NGC 36 or 6633 is a large bright open cluster in the constellation of Fucus. So you're actually looking at two different clusters in two different constellations, which is pretty cool. But both are bright enough to see actually naked eye. But these are considered fine clusters for an object in binoculars or small telescopes. And to tell you the truth, when you look at them, they come a close second to me to the double cluster. So how do you find them in the sky? Well, if it was clear tonight, and it looks like it's going to be, and you went out at 9 o'clock, oriented yourself about 235 degrees southwest and looked up, you will find, I think it's Altair in Aquila, and come down from that, and then Ophiuchus, the top star in that, and come across from that, and you'll find those two clusters right in here together. And they are quite the thing to look at, right in the center of the Milky Way strip. What does it look like? Well, it won't quite look like this because it's a beautiful picture, but you can tell there's two nice packed clusters in there. Beautiful to look at. In 10 by 50 binoculars, this is roughly what you're going to see. And now you can see what I mean by they come a close second, as far as I'm concerned, to the double cluster and below Cassiopeia there. And really nice object to look at. Compared to the full moon, well, there's no question. Each cluster itself is probably 2 full moons in size, if not a little bit bigger. So it's real easy. You'll know when you're scanning down through the Milky Way, when you come across that, you'll know it's there. And bad joke of the week. What should you do when you see a green alien? Well, you wait until it right. That's binocular target of the week by Bino Bud.
Yeah.
How do I unshare here? There we go.
There you go. Awesome. Tweedledee,
Oh.
Tweedledee.
So I guess I'm dumb and you're D.
This time. Only this time. Only because Mike said so.
I was having so much fun putting that graphic together this afternoon. I just couldn't help it. I didn't want to get nailed for something against royalties or something, so I had to come up with my own.
I don't think you will there at all. No.
I very much appreciate you guys being my my
Also-
subjects for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll go from there to Celestial Wonder of the Week, and then we're going to go to a Product of the Week right after that. Well, actually, do you want to do product of the week first, Paul?
Sure, I can do that. If you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, go ahead. Do a product of the week first.
I don't have any music, so I'm not worried about
Okay.
sharing that part of this section, but let me just find my share screen first. There we go. All right then. And I'm going to share. So now, if you can see that, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this is the SNAS, Sunday Night Astronomy Show, new product of the week. And that's what I mean by new product. It'll be new for some and maybe not so new for others. I'm going to show the William Optics Zenistar 61 telescope. And I'm looking at the Astronomy Plus website for this. So the reason I want to talk about this telescope, because it's a natural progression from using a DSLR and a lens for shooting astronomy into your first telescope. The nice thing about this telescope, it's very, very small. It's lightweight. It's easy to use. And if you are already using a star, first day of my new tongue, a star tracker, I'll show you the one that most people are using these days. And that would be this one right here, which is the Skywatcher Star Adventurer. A lot of people have that now, and they put that on a mount. And there are accessories you get with that so that you can use it for astronomy, for astrophotography rather. And so that little 61 can mount right on this mount. And so that would be a nice progression, because it's really, by the time you take your camera lens and your DSLR off and add that little Zenistar telescope and maybe a small astronomy camera, or you can continue on with your own DSLR, because you can use that on the Zenistar as well. Then that makes for a nice progression into using telescopes for astrophotography. Now let me just close that page out. There we go. So now we're back to the Zenistar. This one comes in 3 colors, which is nice. So you can pick your poison. So if you've got a mount that's red, if it's got yellow accents or black or gray accents, you can match it up, which is kind of nice. So they thought of that with this. So let's have a look at the telescope itself. So the optical performance of this little guy, he's a 61 millimeter telescope. So it's not a large telescope. And the whole idea behind this is designed to give you nice wide angle shots of the sky. So the focal length on this, I think, is 360 degrees. Just a sec here now. Let me just get to the technical specs. There we go. Yeah, 360 millimeters is the focal length on that. So the nice thing about that is it's a nice wide angle. So I just use mine. I have one, and I had it for a while, and I just used it for the first time last month, sorry. And what was neat about it, I actually got the whole North American nebula in it, which was really, really nice to see, because I've never had a scope where I could get all of that in there without going to a camera lens. So that's the nice thing about this. So anything that's a large target, you'll be able to pick that up. Also, what's nice about it is because it's so small and so light, it's very forgiving on the mount. So tracking and stuff doesn't have to be as critical. If you do get into guiding and start doing that kind of stuff, again, way less critical, because your imaging scale is so small, you won't really have to worry about real accurate guiding anyway. So that's the beauty of it. So here's some of the features that it has. It's got a 2-inch rack and pinion focuser. It's smooth, stable, and reliable, and it is. So I can say on mine, the focuser works just absolutely wonderful. It's got what they call a cat handle bar, and that what they mean by that is that little bar that you see on the top. You're not going to believe where they get the name cat, but if you look at it real close, it's got cat ears on it. So that whole red cat telescope that everybody's raving about, where it got its name was the top bar on the top of that thing has the ears of a cat, and it was red. That's the name Red Cat. Anyways, for those who want a little trivia on telescope manufacturing. But anyway, what it is just a very small bar. So if you do mount your telescope with this, And of course, you can mount your guide scope right on top of it, or you can just use this along with that clamp in the center, and through there you can actually use it right on a mount at the same time. So it's quite a flexible little thing, which is nice. And this is all CNC made now. They had 2 versions of this, so this is the newer version, and the metal that they use in this clamp is actually now CNC, which is really nice. So it's got the saddle handlebar, that's included. The dovetail plate, which is a small 6-inch dovetail plate, that's included. They're all color matched, which is nice. And the mounting, the guiding scope on it, yes. So in other words, you can mount a guiding scope and all of that kind of stuff in there. There are some accessories you can get with this telescope. The accessories you can either get for astrophotography or you can get for visual, because even though it's a small telescope, it makes an absolutely wonderful visual telescope. So if you want to use it for astrophotography, you can get the small little mini guide scope. You can get field flatteners so that your stars are nice and round out to the corners. For visual, you can get a couple of different style diagonals with it. You have the finder scope ring that you'd have to get for your finder scope itself, or you can actually get one of these red dot finders. And these aren't the cheap little ones that you get typically on the department store telescopes. This is a nice little one that actually I got, my very first one I got from Curt actually, and it was an Orion one. And they are solid, stable, and they really, really work very, very well. So that's an accessory you can get. Nice thing about this telescope too is if you are a DSLR user, when you order the scope, you tell them what brand telescope you have or what brand camera you have, and they will send you the matching T-ring. So that if you're using Canon, you'll get a Canon supplied T-ring with it. If you're using Nikon or Sony, whatever you're using, just tell them that, and they'll supply the T-ring for your telescope for that, which is nice. Now, what's nice about that too, if you're going to continue to use your DSLR for this, for those people who are familiar a little bit with cameras, we know that there's different sensor sizes to cameras out there. Some are APS-C size, which are kind of small compared to a full frame 35 millimeter size, or you can even get micro 4/3. So those are the 3 different typical sizes for cameras. The nice thing about this is the imaging circle that comes off of this telescope, if you are going to use it for photography, is enough to actually fill a full frame camera. So that's really unbelievable for a scope of this size. So you're not going to get those vignetted corners and all that stuff. It'll fill the whole frame with light, which is really, really nice. So that's the beauty of this, one of the things. And right down here, as it says, interchangeable T-mount. So you can either go Canon, Nikon, Sony, Pentax, or so on, so forth with it. Let's see what else I want to talk to you about this. Oh yes, the price for this little guy, I think is just a little over $800 Canadian, which for a telescope, for an apochromatic telescope of this stature, which by the way is using FPL 53 glass, which is extremely good glass for correcting aberrations. For a telescope of this stature, for all that it offers, oh, and by the way, one feature I missed that I want to cover, which is the Badenoff mask. It's actually got a built-in Badenoff mask right in the lens cover. Now, for those who don't know what a Badenoff mask is, basically it's a focusing device for stars that you would use, you would typically have to buy to get a real accurate pinpoint focus on a star. Well, that's actually built right into the face of the telescope, which is another really, really cool feature. So yeah, so this is just a little over $800 Canadian, and it's called the Zenithstar 61 doublet telescope, and something that I have one of myself, and I can attest for the quality of the build. It's built like a tank, works very, very well, very solid, and very flexible. So again, it's a little telescope that I wanted to show for this week's product of the week. And that is that.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Probably another one in the mail to you tomorrow, Paul.
Oh, why not, right?
Yeah, I'll have to. Why not make binoculars out of them? I'll be hell of Twiddledee and Tweedledum.
Play both roles where you want, yeah. Curt, we did have a question here. Sorry, I didn't catch the name of the website that you had mentioned.
Globe at Night.
Globe at Night. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll put that in. Globe at Night. Okay, and we should get back to, let's go back, first of all, to our legends about Pegasus. Curt, if you would.
Okay.
What do we know about Pegasus as far as legend goes? This is the guy that knows the stories.
Well, here's Pegasus again. And over here is Pegasus's mother. Now, I hope you're not looking at Andromeda. Where's the other woman over here? Right here. The Gorgon Medusa. Now, one time Medusa was a very beautiful woman. And Zeus had taken notice of her and sort of had an affair. And of course, his wife Hera had to get revenge, but she couldn't get revenge on her husband. So she changed Medusa into this woman with snaky hair and so lovely that if you look at her, you turn to stone. Of course, she had two sisters and they were immortal, but she was mortal. Right? And if you probably all heard the story of Perseus and Andromeda before. Now, Perseus had been at a banquet for a king, and he didn't show up well dressed or with a present for the king because they never told him they had to do that. And everybody made fun of him, so he wanted to get his revenge on those people. So he went off to find Medusa to cut her head off. He's going to bring the head back to turn everybody that made fun of him into stone. And so he went on his voyage for that. He had some help from the gods, flying around with those magic sandals there from Hermes. And he found the Medusa and he cut her head off. And her head fell into the water. This is at the seashore. Now, one story has that when Medusa's head fell off into the water, the mixture of the Medusa's blood and the Gorgon's blood and the sea foam, out of that mixture jumped up this beautiful white horse with wings, Pegasus. So that's one story of the birth of Pegasus. Another one was, before that, Zeus's brother Poseidon, the god of the seas, I guess it's also something to do with horses as well. He had changed himself into a horse and had an affair with Medusa. And so once she was beheaded, from out of her neck, fully formed, came out Pegasus and a guy called Chrysaor. So they were brothers. Pegasus is the horse, and Chrysaor was a guy. Though sometimes I think he gets seen as a part horse there as well. So there's two different stories of how Pegasus came about. And so Perseus, in the Perseus story, then he put Medusa's head in the sack and jumped on the back of Pegasus to fly back to his place to get his revenge there, and everybody made fun of him. Of course, on the way back, then he saw Andromeda about to be eaten by a sea monster, so he turned the sea monster into stone by showing the head of Medusa. And got married to Andromeda, went back and turned everybody to stone and lived happily ever after, but there's a lot more to it than that. But anyway, Pegasus, after taking Perseus back home, apparently had gone up to Mount Olympus. Now, he'd come up with another one here. There's a guy named Bellerophon, and he was, well, of course, he had to be a handsome prince. And I think he got the name Bellerophon by killing a man called Belarus. So I don't know if Fawn means slayer of somebody or something like that. But anyway, he had being a prince and a pretty handsome guy like that. He was at a place went to another land visiting the king there. And the king's wife made a pass at him, but he turned her down. And so a bit miffed by that, she told her husband, the king, that Bellerophon had made a pass at her, and she turned him down. So the king didn't think it'd be very polite to have the guest killed that way. So he sent the guest off to his father-in-law's house. And Bellerophon went there, and there's a secret message to the father-in-law to find something to do to get rid of Bellerophon, something to kill him, much along the line of the Hercules story. So the first thing that Bellerophon had to do was to kill a chimera. Now, this is an ugly monster. It had the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and his tail was a snake. All right, so he was a little bit nervous about that. Brave guy, but this horrible monster. So the night before he's off to look for it, he went and sort of prayed to Athena in a dream that Athena had helped him. And when he woke up, there was this golden bridle laying beside the bed. So he picked up the bridle and he went outside and he saw this white horse with wings. So Athena had something to do with Pegasus as well. So Pegasus walked over to Bellerophon. He put the golden bridle on the horse, and the horse let him get on his back. And they flew off into the sky looking for the chimera. And eventually they found it. And chimera is pretty swift in trying to kill them, but Pegasus was very adept at flying and making the sharp corners and things like that. So Pegasus kept them away from the chimera, and eventually Bellerophon killed the monster and became a big hero out of that. And then the father-in-law gave him another thing or two there to try to get rid of him. But Bellerophon kept getting better and better with Pegasus and always won his victories. And finally, his head got a little bit swollen because he was such a big name now. And he thought, well, maybe I'm as good as the gods. So got Pegasus, they started flying up toward Mount Olympus. And then the gods saw them, and Zeus is watching him coming up here. And the audacity of that mortal coming up here to think he can be with us. So two stories here. One is that he zapped Pegasus and Bellerophon with one of his thunderbolts and killed them both and put Pegasus up in the sky to commemorate the horse. Or the other one was he sent his gadfly to sting Pegasus. So Pegasus reared back up in the air and threw Bellerophon off. Bellerophon fell down to the earth. Didn't kill him, but he was blinded. He spent the rest of his life traveling around blind. Sort of as a story to mankind that don't be so belligerent or thinking you can be as good as the gods. Sort of walking proof of that. Another bit about Pegasus here. While he was living up in Mount Olympus, there's the Mount Helicon. And this mountain, I think Athena was up there, and there would be a lot of art people up that way, poets and things like that. But there's no water up there, no running water off that mountain. And so Pegasus took his hooves and crashed into the stone, and out of that came this, they call it the Hippocrene. It's a flowing stream, a fountain, came out of that hole that he had made. It flowed down the mountain and gave flowing water and nice fresh water to everybody. And rumor was if you took a drink of water from that, it really enhanced your artistic abilities. And so any people that would drink out of that, they become great poets. Might be true, it might not be. And I think there was something else I wanted to say there, but I'll forget about it. Right up here beside Pegasus, there's Aquarius. Another constellation. It's not as old as Pegasus and the other ones. Pegasus is probably about 6,000 years old. This one might be at least 2,000 or 3,000 years old. And there was some thought that that one might be related to this chrysaor as well. But most people just think it's a small foal of Pegasus. Right, that would be the end of that.
Wow.
Story takes over, folks.
Wow. Like, I just want to know, which one do you believe?
All of them.
Oh,
There you go.
depends on what wasn't spoken that night.
Yeah, these stories spread over like several thousand years, so in different areas. So they're bound to be changed here and there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's the other thing I did think of was some people had seen Pegasus rather than upside down, right side up. And I think Ptolemy might have been one. But 2 or 3 of the ancient astronomers saw it that way. And if you turn him right side up and look at his feet, the front feet, ran down almost under the an Aquarius, the water pot of Aquarius. So you can think of that as being the fountain of Hippocrene.
Okay. I still see the big diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Play
big.
ball.
Play ball, yeah. They're interesting stories, and you got them down to a T. pretty well. It's
Interesting reading sometimes.
interesting reading. Campfire stories.
Yeah.
So I know that the folklore that you talk about, Curt, is a certain style,
these-
brand.
yeah.
How many different stories, folklores are there out there? I
Well,
imagine-
with Pegasus, there's not very many. I look at a few today. The Zuni tribe in what is now California, they mentioned Pegasus bear, but it was just called the 4 stars, just called the 4 big guys. There wasn't much to it there. And I read a couple other ones in different areas that were not nearly as entertaining, and just a few words about them, what they saw there.
But
I can't
even
remember.
even like the Mi'kmaq, they've got their own stories with what's up on the sky, but a
Right.
lot of them are actually correlated to a certain extent to some of the stories that you have. Are they? Or are they totally different?
It would be totally different well, the classic one there is the Big Dipper, the story of Muon, which is the name for bear, and that's the 4 stars that make the bowl of the Big Dipper, and the 3 stars in the handle and 4 stars in Boötes make up 7 little hunters who are named after birds. So that could be for another night.
Right. Yeah.
So do you know much of that folklore?
I've got a few books on North American Aboriginal stories. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear some of those sometime.
Yeah.
Only because of well, I don't know if Kathy talks about that. I think it's more about moon phases and how the Earth works around the moon.
Yeah.
But to hear some of those stories coming from that point of view, that's pretty interesting, actually.
One story, the Big Dipper story is a great one for that. It's a nice storytelling.
It explains the seasons there with the robin redbreast and the leaves turning red in the fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to have you tell us that one next time, Curt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
All right, we're going to go to let's go to a celestial wonder of the week. Excuse me, a celestial wonder of the week right now. I'll bring up my screen here and I'll share my screen, and let's see if you can guess what this one's going to be about. Kidding. Let's see if we bring it up on the right screen. You seeing it there? Okay.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Celestial wonder of the week this week is the annular solar eclipse coming up on Saturday, October 14th. So what's that all about? Well, there are actually 3 types of eclipses that we get into. There's a partial eclipse, there's an annular eclipse, and a total eclipse. So we're going to take a look at which one we're going to be talking about mostly. Here's an annular versus a total, and why are they different? Well, not all solar eclipses look the same. The distance between the sun, the moon, and Earth plays an important role in what we see during a solar eclipse. Now, even though the moon is much smaller than the sun, about 400 times smaller in diameter, the sun and the moon look about the same size from Earth. That's because the sun is about 400 times farther away than the moon. But as the moon travels in its elliptical orbit around the Earth, its size appears slightly larger when it's closer to Earth and slightly smaller when it's farther away. This contributes to the different kinds of solar eclipses you might see. So this one coming up is called an annular eclipse. What is an annular eclipse? An annular eclipse occurs when the sun, moon, and Earth are properly aligned, but the moon is farther away in its orbit, so it does not completely cover the sun's disk from our perspective. Now, annular eclipses are notable for that ring of fire, we call it, a thin ring of the sun's disk that is still visible around the moon during annularity. Now, the name annular eclipse comes from the world of mathematics, where a ring shape is known as an annulus. Now, the path of the annular solar eclipse, this time around, the annular solar eclipse will be visible across much of the western U.S. and parts of Mexico, Central America, and even South America. Now, this is the path that it's going to be taking on the 14th. So let's watch the moon's shadow here piercing through our continent, passing through. The whole thing travels at about 5,000 kilometers per hour. The shadow of the moon, and this is the path of totality, or not quite totality. Of course, it's not going to be blocking out the complete disk of the sun. So what is it about? Okay, well, the path of the annular eclipse is here. We take a look here. We're about running through Oregon, down through Texas, through the US part, and there's their view that they would get this the blockage of the sun by the moon and this ring of fire on the outside. As you step farther away, of course, from that path of totality, your view gets less and less. So when we look at us over here in the maritime provinces, we're going to be seeing anywhere between 10 and 20% obstruction. I think our areas are right around 12% or so. Here we are. Okay, so our partial eclipse is going to start in St. John at 2:31 p.m. It begins. Its maximum will be at its maximum is at 2:31. It begins at 1:35. Its maximum at 2:31, and it ends at 3:27. So 19.3% looks like, and duration is 1 hour and 52 minutes. So not the greatest of eclipses, but at least you'll get a chance to see a partial one, and that's going to be a nice tease for ours coming up in April the 8th of 2024. And here's our calendar if you want to go get some more information about it. And of course, any of the events that come up throughout the month, you can go here to sjastronomy.ca, download this calendar. Curt here puts it together, does a great job. All the blue areas here are transits of Jupiter with the moons, and we're looking at right here. And we're actually having an event coming up within the Urban Nature Park, right, Curt?
Correct. Next Saturday, 1:30 to 3:30.
1:30 to 3:30 inside the park. So we'll be watching for that and hoping for clear skies for that event. So here we are, the next two, just 6 months apart. So annular solar eclipse coming up on October the 14th. Our big event coming up on April the 8th, 2024. You're going to hear a whole lot about this coming up in the media. If you haven't heard about it yet, you're going to be bombarded with it very soon. So this is the total solar eclipse coming up over a large portion of the northeastern US. Over 60 million people will have an opportunity in the path of totality to see this. And look at where it's passing right across New Brunswick here. So about from Fredericton to about Miramichi, straight across the province. So looking forward to that event. And that's our celestial wonder of the week.
There you go.
There you go.
Sunny skies, we hope.
Exactly.
So that's what you call total coverage.
Total coverage. And yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you had two numbers on that, Chris. You had obstruction and magnitude.
Oh,
So the
magnitude, yes.
obstruction was about 10%. The
10%.
magnitude was about 19.
Right.
So magnitude is the fraction of the diameter that is covered.
Okay, gotcha.
So you think of the shadow coming out as an arc, and so the arc closest to the other side, that would be where the diameter would be.
Okay.
Along there. So you're not it's almost 20% of the diameter across there, but where the shadow is curved, you only get about 10% of the surface of the sun covered.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I'll have to think about that later on too. I'll go back and review the show.
Right.
That's
I
okay.
just watched the shadow go across.
Yeah.
In the clouds.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got a couple of talks left. We've got a Rosanna's talk, and we have a Ask an Amateur talk. So, how about we do a Rosanna talk, Paul?
I'm ready.
Okay, go, sir.
Okay. So I got my share moi screen.
Parts of Texas gets to see both eclipses. They do so, Joey. Actually, a town called Uvalde, Texas, gets to see both of them. Passes right through their town.
All right. So we're all set.
You bet.
Here we are.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Yay! Well, welcome back, Rosanna, for another great fun fact. And tonight we are presenting Rosanna's Fun Fact Rewind. Rosanna's away enjoying some festivities with her family this weekend, so we are hoping she's having lots of food, and hopefully she won't have to sit back and unbutton the drawers and let a little bit of gas out. Anyway, it's going to be a great weekend for her, and so we're going to rewind the back, and we'll talk about a little fun fact she had from time gone by. So, counting seems to be human nature. One of my earliest memories is of us sitting on a kitchen counter and insisting on counting every raisin my mom had and every cookie on the tray going into the oven. Excepting one or two Enumeric tribes in the world, the Pyrrha being one, with no words for numbers, virtually everyone seems to want to put a quantitative values on things, ornaments, stars, and galaxies. So in 1923, Edwin Hubble made a discovery that became legendary in its implication. His photographic plate of what turned out to be a Cepheid variable star flipped current estimates of the size of the whole universe to 3 times larger than anyone believed at the time. The star and the nebula around it was determined to be 1 million light years away. Today, due to improved measurements, we now know it's actually 2.5 million light years away. Hubble's discovery, along with Slipher's work in 1912 and Georges Lemaitre's work in 1929, led eventually to the Big Bang Theory and the idea that the whole universe seemed to be flying apart. In the 1930s, Hubble began to study and classify galaxies, more counting and categorizing, and the estimates of size of the galaxy and the universe steadily grew. As BB continues, bigger and better, or upsized, equipment continues to be developed, so does our ability to see the depth of the universe. So far, the oldest and furthest galaxy ever discovered is an irregular type of galaxy called GN-Z11. It is 32 billion light years. It is estimated that the galaxy formed just around 400 million years after the Big Bang. Now, did anyone notice the distance, 32 billion light years? A huge difference from the 1923's estimate of far away. So there's a clip that I'm not going to play on this one, but I'll continue on to the next slide. And I'll blow that up so you can see that. So astronomers now estimate that 2 trillion galaxies existed in the early universe. Since it seems the galaxies that are near each other are drawn together by gravity and become one over cosmic time, the bigger Pac-Man gobbles up the little one. And the universe is now thought to contain 1 billion galaxies, still too many to even count. However, we can count galaxies, however we can count the galaxies we can easily find through our backyard telescopes. I'm still working on the RAST Explore the Universe certificate. Thankfully, there is no time limit on completion. There are no specific galaxy items in the RASC list, but M13 M13 in Hercules and M31 in Andromeda are both mentioned and easy to add to the night's observing. M31 is possible naked eye, and in binos you can clearly see the elliptical shape. Here's a galaxy I would try to see when outreach is possible again. Now, this segment came back when we were still in the pandemic. At only 11 million light years away, IC 342 can be considered a close one. It lies in what is it, Curt?
Camelopardalis.
Thank you. Near the plane of the Milky Way in our skies. It is considered to be a little difficult for amateur astronomers to spot, but can actually be seen by binoculars. Its elegant form makes it so worth the challenge. So put a little venture into astronomy advent calendar and get it on your list. And that is this week's
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Hey, thank you so much, Rosanna, for that great fun fact. I like to go back through them every once in a while because just so much great information that you get. That one goes back a little bit, so I thought I'd bring it out because it hasn't been talked about for a while, but I think it's all still relevant today. So,
Did you see how timely it was, though?
no,
See the date on that Hubble picture, the variable star one?
no, I didn't see it.
100 years ago last Friday.
Oh my gosh.
That's true, yeah. 100 years ago.
Thanksgiving. Wow.
I didn't notice. I didn't notice it.
I just saw it because I was on the Sky and Telescope or one of the websites there, but the 100th anniversary of it. So.
Oh, that's
Ah.
perfect timing then. That's great.
Yeah.
2 trillion galaxies in the early universe, Kurt, and some of the others, the galaxy. So is it down to 1 billion now? Is that?
Well, it's going to vary. I've seen a couple 100 billion.
100
But
billion?
that's because they already have a lot of smaller ones, and then they would merge into
Yeah.
one.
Okay, yeah, because I've been asked that number a lot, and I didn't know what number to quote by. So
Yeah,
I've heard
very big number.
Yes.
big, lots, big, all kinds.
Yeah, the Trump number. Big,
Billions,
huge.
billions, billions, billions,
Billions and billions. Yeah.
Thank you, Rosanna, for another great fun fact.
Absolutely.
Love that one. Okay, we're going to go to 2 last segments here. We got a quick Ask an Amateur segment, and then we're going to go to some photos. So give me a second. I'll bring up my Ask an Amateur slide. I think it's this one. Should be. Okay, and let me share my screen. And this one. Oh, hang on. I got to go back and stop share. Got to go back to share screen with sound this time. Yep, there it is. Again. And wait. This question, David R. asked, why don't we have a solar eclipse every month? And I went looking for an answer for this one. I thought probably one of the best answers would come from NASA, because this comes from NASA heliophysics site. Let's try that again. Something didn't play right.
Well, now I know it's because the moon freezes. Well, no.
On the dark side.
Try to go back again. Well, I can't even go back. It's locked. Yeah. Well, we'll have to jump out of that one, maybe. Hang on. No, can't even get to that way. We'll stop share for a second.
There you go.
I'll try one more time. Don't think I'm gonna get there. Let's see if it'll play this time. It's playing for me. No. It's going so hard. Hang on, we'll try one more time. If we can't, then we're gonna get an explanation, Kurt.
Just happen to have one in my back pocket.
Let's put Kurt on the spot. All right, one more time. I mean, it played earlier, okay, but we'll do it again. Still seeing it there?
Nope.
Not yet. No, now.
Yep.
Okay, let's try again. There. Did I tell the story? Kind of. And we'll just take it back to our stop share. Okay. Pretty dramatic kind of a view there. I mean, it's really not that dramatic, right? But isn't it Kurt about 5% above or 5% or 5 degrees above, 5 degrees below normally?
Yeah, which is about 9 or 10 times the diameter of the moon.
9 or 10 times the diameter of the moon.
Up to that much, yeah.
So it has to pass at the nodes, which
Right.
are, so there's a lower point and upper point of its orbit, and it has to pass at the node at the same time as it's lined up with the sun.
Yeah, within about 7 weeks. It's going to be near the node over a 7-week period. And you can get a partial eclipse, and if you get one, maybe a 12-day period. If that happens to, if you get say a new moon or full moon at that time, then you get a total.
Okay, awesome. And same thing with lunar, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, lunar would be the full moon one.
So it's not, we're not in a parallel line. I guess that's the main thing to state, that we're not always parallel with we're not in the same plane, I guess, as the moon and
Yeah.
sun. So it has to be in the same plane at the same time when you're actually in the same plane and you're focused on the sun at the same time. So that's why we don't get one every month. Maybe that answers it, hopefully. Okay. Let's get on to something better. Let's share some photos now. I guess we're going to try to get to those. Let's get these up here now. 1 second. Put them on the right screen. And I'll get them opened up. I'm going to share a few photos from sent in with these ones on the screen over here. Okay, and we should have them here. Let me share my screen. How's that?
There you go.
There we go. There's a beauty shot. From Brad Perry. Brad says, hi, Chris. I just finished catching up on the past couple of episodes of Sunday Night Astronomy Show after a very busy September. Happy to see the three of you back at it, and I'm enjoying the new segments. Awesome. Thank you. I wanted to share my three favorite captures of the summer. This image of the crescent moon in Fredericton and the Milky Way near Mactaquac were taken on the same evening, he said, August 20th.
Very
So
nice.
this night was obviously a very standout night of the summer, for sure. A clear sky would be a standout night this summer.
I was going to say he must have got all his photography in one night.
Yeah.
That's all we had.
The third image is of the aurora on September 2nd, taken a bit north of Fredericton at a friend's camp. He said, though it may not be the most impressive display of aurora, as an overall composition, I think it was one of my favorite photos I've ever taken.
Yeah.
Sure,
The Dipper right in behind.
With the way the
That's
thin
beautiful.
clouds
Yeah.
made the Dipper glow and the rising moon lit up the trees. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, beautiful.
Right, take some amazing work. Always happy to show your photos. Thanks very much for that. Okay, we're going to go from there to Matthew DeBray's capture. He says, hi, Chris. I had taken this photo of the Lionhead Nebula over the summer. It's just over 1 hour of exposure time. Pretty cool capture. I don't know where that is. Where's Lionhead Nebula, Paul?
I don't know.
You know, Curt?
Don't know. Africa?
I haven't
Right.
shot that one.
Well, that'll be question of the week for next week. Where's the Lionhead Nebula?
I'll find out for you now. Just hang on.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, well, hang on. A few seconds. Trudy says the puppy loved that sound. Maybe it was the music. Okay. Anything, Paul?
No, just keep going. I'll chime in when I have it.
All right, we'll go to the next photo. This one comes from Emma McPhee. This is the sun over the apple orchard in October on October the 1st in Memramcook. There you go. Great way to be picking apples.
It's
Thanks,
in,
Emma.
it's in Saphius.
Saphius. Okay, I thought you were going to say Cygnus.
I think it's a happy birthday to Emma as well.
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday, Emma. Hey. All right, Joey Craswell. Here he says, here's a spooky Halloween target for you. This one's called the Ghost of Cassiopeia. It's 550 light years away, or 5,225 trillion kilometers in the constellation of Cassiopeia. This is only 3 hours of exposure time, not enough to do this target justice. He says, plus it was shot while the moon was so incredibly bright, just in time for Halloween.
Beautiful.
Nice.
What constellation's that in?
Cassiopeia, I think. Goes to Cassiopeia, but it might not be.
Cygnus?
Smart guy. Make sure we don't invite him back on the show.
Gold Andromeda.
There we go. Okay. Now meet the Phantom of the Opera Nebula, he says. This is again from Joey. This emission nebula is 8,800 light years from Earth, made mostly of hydrogen alpha gas and dust. So cool that it looks like a mask worn by the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah,
Does.
very cool. Very cool.
Very
I
cool.
like the Hubble stars he's got going on.
This is a very faint object in space, not visible without long exposure and special filters. The image is around 1 hour and 40 minutes total exposure at 600 seconds using the ALP-T filter.
Very nice.
Awesome. Thanks, Joey. Mr. Robert Gadet, October the 1st, 2023, sun. He said, captured from relaxing on my sofa. Good stuff. That's astronomy. Armchair astronomy. Good stuff. Great captures, Robert. You always do great jobs in the sun. These ones came from Fall Astronomy Day on September the 22nd, also from Robert at the Irving Nature Park in St. John. Captures of the lunar surface using a Meade LX200 8-inch SCT Classic, a ZWO ASI 174mm planetary camera, and an ASI Air Plus for acquisition. So that was kind of neat. Robert was walking around with his tablet and showing everybody live views of the moon with his tablet. A process using Auto Stacker 3, IMPPG, and Photoshop. Seeing in transparency were very bad. Lots of haze. There was, of course, lots of haze. Great shot there, the Apennines. Nicely done. Thanks, Robert.
Very good.
We'll move on now to Kathy Adams and her shots of Jupiter and the moons. Jupiter 3 moons, she said. Use my little scope. Excuse me, an EVO guide 50 ED with my Explore Scientific 2x focus extender and ZWO ASI 678 MC camera. I've hardly been able to use this little scope since it arrived, and it's quite nice to use. Turning those shots. There we go.
Very nice, yeah.
Kathy, she does some great captures. The planetary stuff. Also, she's got tonight's moon. She said shot again with the EVO guide 50mm and ZWO ASI 678 MC. I think it may well be my go-to for lunar images for a while, for sure. Great shot.
Yeah.
And finally, a Saturn captured. She said still hazy with iffy seeing and wispy clouds, but I am happy enough. C5 with my ZWO ASI 678 MC sharp cap to capture astral surface to stack and adjust wavelets, and then Photoshop. Amazing. Great quality there.
Yep, absolutely.
Kathy. Chris Benoit, he says, shot of the sun. Little shooting session a few days ago. Lots of sunspots there. Sun and orange always kind of looks natural, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Stuff, Chris. David Hoskin. Look at this, Luna and the Seven Sisters image the other night. This is a composite of short and long exposures. So always nice to get the moon and that cluster together. I love that cluster. Beautiful. Great job, David. Finally, going to go to a couple more. Here's one from Mr. Mike Powell. Well, here's something I wasn't expecting to find. He said Mercury at 10:02 in the morning.
Yeah.
Orion 110 Apo with 777mm focal length, 200 frames processed with PIP with the best 30% auto stacker. Nice job, Mike.
Yeah.
I was taking some sunspots. I took the filter off, and as I was sweeping, I just seen this little dot, and I went, "No, can't be." Right? And I moved it and came back, and sure enough, wow.
Nice. And your capture of the moon as well on October 7th.
Wow.
You said that was handheld, eh?
Yeah, that was my Canon 90D with a 600mm Sigma lens.
Wow.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Oh, it's a nice sharp lens.
Yeah.
One for Mr. Owen here.
Oh, yes.
At 7:18 in the morning, when he was in Ingonish, the sun was gently rising as the waves were very aggressive, throwing themselves at the shoreline. So the sun's a star, so we'd like to share them as well. So great job, Paul.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. Well done. Love the, is that the sunrise?
That's a sunrise, yeah.
Wow.
I got up there before, I got there during the blue hour, and then walked the beach a little bit, and then I started to see the colors change. I thought, okay, because the waves are really quite high, quite surprising. So
Right.
I want to catch them with the sun kind of lighting up the edge of the waves.
Yeah.
And it kind of eclipsed. I didn't quite make the shot I wanted, but when the waves went up, of course, it would eclipse anything on the beach. But so it was just coming down as I got that shot, but didn't matter. It was just glorious to be there.
Awesome. Nice job.
Yeah.
Okay, and I just want to say that if you got any photos to share with us, you can send them into Sunday Night Astronomy, send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to share them on our next broadcast. I just need a second here to open up our closing statement here, if I could. Bear with me. I'm going to be into here somewhere, and I'm not quite ready for that yet, are we? Okay. I've got too many windows going on here. All right, so that's our show for this evening. I hope you enjoyed the program tonight. Special thanks again to Curt Nason for joining us this evening. Thanks, Curt. Always a pleasure having you on the show. We'll talk about the Big Dipper next time around. Special thanks, of course, to welcome to Rosanna for once again for fabulous fun facts segments. Thank you, Rosanna. Always a pleasure to have you on and your segments on with us. Next week we'll have another guest, hopefully discussing with us their journey in through astronomy, and we'll have all of our other regular segments next week as well. Number two, we do love sharing your photos, so send them into astronomybytheday@gmail.com. And we'll be happy to share them on our next broadcast. You cut my shirt today?
That Lionel Richie?
Yeah, Lionel Richie, yeah. True, nice galaxy. Anyway, special thanks again to our friends at Rogers for joining us this evening as well. So until next week. Now, speaking of Rogers, we are on tonight. Last week's program is on tonight at 10 p.m. on the Rogers Community Programming channel. So if you didn't catch last week's show, you can catch it on the web, actually. If you go to Rogers Community Programming, Rogers schedule, you'll find us at 10 p.m. Atlantic time from last week's program. So
before we sign off, Chris, I want to put a shout out to Homestead Productions, Mike Emerson, for doing our video for us, by the way. He was so kind to put that all together for us, and was actually happy to do it. So that new video that we have at the beginning, at the end of our show, was put together by Homestead Productions. So thank you, Mike Emerson, very, very much.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay, so then until next week, I guess, wishing you all clear skies. Looks like fairly clear skies out there here tonight. And as we like to say, open your eyes to view the skies and keep your scopes pointed up. Have a great week, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. And we'll share our closing screen. And we'll share it with some sound, maybe. Oh, here we go. I'll go back here again. Try that again. Here we go.
Let's check the thing.